Earlier, you said that the increase for HHS over the last 4 years had increased by 38%. Is that correct?
That's right, Senator Mullin.
So what have we got? What has the taxpayers got in return over the last 4 years?
They got a worst chronic health crisis and the unhealthiest, sickest population in the globe.
So your total budget for 2024, I think, was around 1.7 trillion. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we've had a 10% increase across that. We've received nothing in return.
We've had a 38% increase in 4 years.
And at the
with
same
nothing in return.
And nothing in return. And we have my Democrat colleagues that are complaining about cutting spending. At the same time, we have NIH recipients, because we've heard our colleagues on the left side really complain about you cutting NIH funding because they call it research. But is it really research? I mean, let me just throw some numbers out here for you. Harvard received $488 million in NIH, and 69% went to indirect cost, meaning didn't go to research. Yale received $646 million, and 67.5% of their NIH money went to indirect costs, meaning didn't go to research. You have Johns Hopkins University got $858 million. 67.5% went to indirect costs, meaning 67.5% of $858 million did not go to research. University of California, San Francisco received $815 million in NIH money, and 59% went to indirect cost. But I'm sure there's no room to cut NIH money for research. I mean, who would think we probably have room for that? Because let's just use the top 4 recipients for my colleagues and on the Democrat side. Let's just use their numbers and round numbers. That's $2 billion $2.807 million in NIH money for top 4 universities receiving NIH. Out of that, $1.684 billion went to indirect cost. I'm using rough numbers here. Now, I'm sure there's no room to cut NIH research, right?
There's room to cut the research both through the indirect cost, which the total cost was $9 billion last year in indirect research. So that's $9 billion that did not go to research, but also
$9 billion that went to other things like flowers at the university.
Right, and the way we don't know what it goes to.
And
the way it works is if we give $1 million grant and there's a 60% indirect cost, that means they get to keep the $1 million grant, but we have to give them another $600,000 for their indirect costs. So that's the way it works. And the private universities that have the big endowments, like you were referring to, they're the ones that get the most inflated numbers. Let me just say this. We have 9 separate offices for women's health. We have 8 separate offices for minority health. We have 20 separate HIV programs. We have 59 separate behavioral programs. We have 40 separate opioid programs. We have 42 maternal health programs. Each one of them have their own administrators. We have 100 communications offices when I came in. We have 41 chief.
Say 100 communication offices?
Yes, 100, and we have 1,400 external affair officers, staff. We have 40 procurement departments using 4 different contracting systems. We have 9 resource officers, dozens of IT departments, and 8 senior finance officials. And what we're trying to do is eliminate the redundancy. There's no way to govern this agency. This agency has a budget that is comparable to the 6th largest nation in the world. And we have no governance because these are all in silos with their own infrastructure, and we're trying to consolidate them, and that's why they don't work. That's why we throw more and more money every year, and Americans are the sickest people in the world. We spend 2 to 3 times for health care what other nations spend, and we have the worst outcomes on earth. And if somebody does not reorganize this mess, it is going to continue. And we're trying to do it, and we're going to make some mistakes as we do it. But ultimately, I can tell you 4 years from now, the American people are going to be a lot healthier.
You know, only in American government do we think throwing money at the problem will eventually fix it. So thank you for staying strong and actually getting the taxpayers the money that they spent for something that's supposed to be spent for, and that's to make us healthier. So thank you for being strong in this.
Thank you, Senator Mullin.
Senator Britt.